Welcome back to another story time, everybody. I know it's been a few weeks. These things are random anyways, I definitely don't want to run out. But this is a perfect time. There's no NBA games on, I don't give a shit about the NFL. This story just came back to me, and it actually, loosely connects to the last story, so although I don't think I ever planned on telling it, I think I will. So, more summer camp madness from the summer of 2008, because a lot happened that summer. That was probably the best summer of my childhood. And this story is going to pick up roughly a month or a month and a half after the one I told last time. So when I was younger, me and my cousin used to see each other all the time. He lived in Atlanta, of course I'm in Florida, so it was like relatively far and few in between. But especially during the summertime, we always made sure like there was a week or two where we could hang out. And that was always like royalty. That was, I was one of those people that had a cousin as a best friend, like pretty much a brother to be honest. We actually tried to get him to come live with us that summer, I think, man, that would have been crazy. So anyways, this summer 08, this was the longest visit that we ever had. The longest continuous visit, it lasted a month. I went up to Atlanta for 2 weeks, then he came down to stay with me for 2 weeks, so 4 weeks total. And I started staying up there on July 4th. I left summer camp. This was after the situation with the snake best friend and whatnot, and I guess I just needed to be surrounded by some real shit. So I stay in Atlanta for 2 weeks, and it always baffles me that that was a real time in my life where me and basically my best friend just woke up with no responsibilities every single day, and the days went like this: wake up, eat unhealthy shit, drink unhealthy shit, play video games, occasionally go in the backyard and shoot around on the basketball goal, go back inside, play more video games, eat more bad shit, drink more bad shit, stay up really late, wake up the next morning, and do it all over again. That is literally in a nutshell what we did for those 2 weeks. So staying at Atlanta, that was actually my grandmother's place, and she didn't have internet, so it was just us making our own fun with multiplayer games, 2K, PlayStation 2 games, multiplayer San Andreas, things of that nature. Again, you're with your best friend, so you can make anything fun. Alright, so 2 weeks of that pass, I figure I'm getting a little bit bored of being cut off from the outside world because I've got no access to MySpace or anything. Like, I don't know what's going on in Florida. Haven't heard from any friends in weeks. So that visit is about to end, and I lobbed the idea out there because it used to be hard as shit to get my cousin to be able to come down to Florida. Like, I was always in ATL, but it was difficult to get him down there. So I lob it. I'm like, yo, why don't you see if you can come stay? We go through that process in proper channels. We got the approval, and he comes down to stay with me. Now, where I stay, we've got internet. We're not rich, but we've got a little bit of money and freedom to do things down here. We've got places to go, people to see, and we've also got summer camp. Now, this was always royalty to me. When I was presented the opportunity to have my cousin around my normal friend groups that I got to hang out with in Florida, that was just like the pinnacle of being a child. So if I could have him around my best friends down here and we could all play video games or whatever, I don't know. If any of you have a cousin that lived out of state and you ever got to bring him around your friends, you probably know this feeling. So getting to bring him to summer camp and around other girls and showing him how I get down, oh my goodness. This was about to be fire. There was only one problem with this. My cousin was 2 years older than me. So that means summer 08, I was going to the 8th grade, he was going to the 10th. Now, as far as friend groups, that's really not a huge deal. It's just a 2-year gap. However, for the camp itself, they were very explicit in their ruling that we allow grades 6th through 8th. If you're going to high school, go find a hobby. This isn't for you. And we knew that rule, and we also didn't care. We weren't gonna let that stop us. Again, he's going to the 10th grade, so technically he had just finished the 9th. He didn't look that much bigger than your average 8th grader at that time. It was enough to be suspicious, but it was enough that he could pass for it as well. So we just figured we're gonna try it. How hard can it really be to just have him blend in with a bunch of other kids, especially when he's with me? There really shouldn't be any issues. Except there was one issue. Oh boy, my cousin and his temper and his attitude. Okay, so he wasn't like a firecracker or anything. He's not just going to light people up or anything, but he had a very, how do I put it? A very stoic and standoffish attitude, right? And because he lived with my grandmother, there was never really any control for him. So there was no, like, it was his way or the fucking highway. You were not going to control him. You were not going to tell him what to do. You weren't going to get one over on him. He always got the last word. Like, I remember one time, I believe it was that summer, if not the summer before, and him and my grandmother were arguing, and my grandma goes, "Say one more word, I'll beat your ass." My cousin says, "One more word." He really did that? Like, he actually said the phrase one more word with the straightest face and like nothing happened. Like, what are you gonna do? He won that argument. So okay, I just brought that out to give you an example. Like, no one's getting anything over this guy. You get it. Now the problem with that is, again, we're in a middle school with counselors who are used to getting their way. They're used to being in complete control. They're used to just saying their word is law, right? And I'd never been around my cousin in a school setting. I always wonder, how did that work with teachers and whatnot? And I was about to find out. I remember particularly one thing I was worried about was a camp counselor, and she wasn't even just a camp counselor. She was actually like one of the higher ups in that school, but she was camp counselor for that summer, and her name was Miss Wilder. And she had the most fucked up attitude. Like, I can still remember her face being red when she would yell at children. She would go so hard on people for the slightest thing. Like, other adults would have to calm her down. Shit was crazy, man. Thinking back, she did not need to be in that position. But anyways, I was afraid of that on the ride home to Florida, because I was like, damn, my cousin and Miss Wilder in the same room. I wonder how that's gonna go, because neither one of them are gonna back down. They might start throwing hands. However, it was not Miss Wilder I had to worry about. By the time we got back to the camp, I don't think she was there, but there was another counselor named Miss Rosie, and we got along before this whole thing happened, right? I'd been at that camp for like a month, and she wasn't like, she didn't go super hard, but she was just one of the counselors that was, used to being in control. So this first day happens, right? And I was so excited. Like, I get to introduce my cousin to, all my good friends here, the ones that are left anyways, because by this point I don't believe my snake best friend was here anymore. The two girls of that story, they were definitely both gone. I didn't see them again after that. However, the girl from the last story that picked me to be in her group, the one that like sabotaged everything, she was still there, and we made amends. So I got to introduce him to her and whatnot, and I felt good that morning. I was like, this is gonna be pretty cool. We're gonna be here for a couple of weeks. This is gonna be fire. We're gonna go to theme parks. Everything's gonna be okay. And then Miss Rosie starts doing some type of roll call, right? The gist of it was, if she called your assignment, you needed to go up to the table and sign up for something. That's all it was. So something very basic at the start of a camp day. And so my cousin, I see him sitting at the edge of a table. And let's just say that Miss Rosie said, okay, if your number is 1 through 3, come up to the table and sign up. And my cousin, he was just kind of staring off into space. I don't know. I mean, it was early in the morning. Maybe he was tired. Maybe he just didn't hear her. Sometimes you hear people talking, but you don't really hear them. I guess that's what happened. And she had the microphone in her hand, and she was kind of strolling by the tables as she was saying it. And because my cousin hadn't moved, she kind of slowly walked up to him and stopped, and she said it real loud into the microphone. She was like, if your numbers 1 through 3, please go sign up at the table. My cousin, with that standoffish attitude of his, he was like, why you gotta be all in my face like that? But with the way he said it, he didn't look at her. He didn't give her the respect of looking at her. He was just sitting at the edge of a table with his arms kind of like laid back on it, and he was looking straight forward as she's standing next to him with the microphone. I still have the picture in my head, and right as she said it, he's just like, why you gotta be all in my face like that? And I was like, oh shit, here we go. Because remember, we're trying to conceal the fact that he's also 2 years older, so if he draws any suspicion, if he gets into any kind of trouble, that jeopardizes our week here. So like I said, he was just nobody's bitch. Nobody was going to be exercising any type of authority over him, and this was just one of those moments. So anyways, I don't remember exactly how it happened without them clashing right then and there, but he ended up standing up and signing up for whatever it was we were doing, and it was Miss Rosie at the table. She was the one doing the sign up, and I guess there was another exchange there. I didn't exactly hear it, but I remember I got behind my cousin, and as he was walking away, Miss Rosie had this look on her face, like it was like he just responded something that she didn't like, and she kind of had her mouth open, and she turned and looked at me, and she was like, yo, you better tell your cousin about me. She was like, I don't play. And I was like, yeah, I know. I was just trying to keep the peace, right? I'm trying not to get us thrown the fuck out of here. I'm trying to have a good rest of my summer. I'm like, yeah, don't worry. He'll be fine. We'll all get along. Because it's still the morning, right? This is the first interaction. We haven't even done anything yet, fam. We're still cold. So we end up leaving the cafeteria, and every morning what we would do starting summer camp was we would run around the track in front of the school, or kind of just walk around it. People didn't run in PE. They weren't running around this damn track, but yeah, we did our little warm-up thing, walked around the track. And I remember I'm with my friend group, and gradually I noticed that my cousin is missing. I don't know where he is, and apparently he's been pulled inside by the camp counselors. I'm just like, oh my god, what now? And so maybe after a lap or two around the track, they call me in. I get inside the empty cafeteria. There's my cousin, there's Miss Rosie, and there's probably like 2 other counselors there. And oh, there's actually my mom as well. And what's ended up happening here is my cousin's been interrogated by Miss Rosie. Now, I can't exactly remember if we slipped and like told some of our friends that my cousin was a couple of years older, or if she was just suspicious, maybe because, I don't know, maybe his voice was a bit deeper. I don't know, something. She caught wind of the fact that he was a couple of years older. She interrogated him about it, and he'd ended up slipping and saying what age he actually was. Now, that's a a reasonable mistake to make, obviously. Like, this isn't a part that you always play. So somewhere through the conversation, he said he slipped and tried to correct it. And yeah, she threw us the fuck out. Like, look, I think that she liked me enough that she would have probably have let us stay. But due to those couple of interactions earlier that morning and him challenging her authority and whatnot, she wasn't going to stand for it. And I remember my mom, she was pissed about it too. Like, come on, you can't let like a year and a half or two just, like, you can't just let that slip. You can't just let them chill here. And I remember she was signing us out and whatnot. And Miss Rosie's like, yeah, I'm sorry. You know, I really think I could let this slide, but yeah. And my mom was just shaking her head like, yeah, okay, I feel you. And she wasn't really listening to nothing she was saying. And so we were displaced for the week. I believe what we actually ended up doing for that week was going to an Orlando Magic basketball camp where I got dunked on for the only time in my life. It was on a fast break, and they brought some basketball player over from Europe. Don't remember his name, don't remember what he looked like. It was just a big ass black dude. It was like Cyborg. He was like 5 times my size. I was like 12 or 13 years old, fam. But yeah, I got caught lacking. Anyways, that's a different story. It was pretty cool. Even Courtney Lee pulled up to that camp. We had like a 3-point shootout. I believe he had just been drafted around that time. Cool stuff. Anyways, the next week, we're gonna try this summer camp stuff one more time because we're getting kind of close at this point to school returning and whatnot, and we gotta wrap this vacation up. So this is the last week of like summer camps in my area, and we go to a different school which was only about 15 minutes away. And this is a camp where I don't know anybody. This was a relief school that they built for the population actually, so I'm totally out of my element. I don't have any contacts or whatnot. I don't know what they expect, but I have my older cousin with me, so I feel bolder than usual. I told you, every camp where we went, it was always, all right, get there, find out what friends are there, find out what females are there. It was just like a checklist. And of course this camp had females. 2 prospects to be exact. One we're going to call Gabriella, and the other we're going to call Linda. Linda was the one, she was only about a year younger than my cousin, and he thought she was cute, but being that he lived in Atlanta, he wasn't, you know, really trying to spit game or whatever. We were only there for the week. However, I live in this area. This is home court for me. I'm putting up shots. And the one that I was after, that was Gabriella, and man, she was a 10. Like, she was a whole 10 and a half at that time. That shit was crazy. So Gabriella and Linda had like a little trifecta going. It was like a friend group with a guy. We're gonna call him Benny, and I can't remember exactly if Benny was Gabriella's ex or if Benny was trying to shoot his shot at that time. Either way, my little evil ass at that time befriended Benny for the sole purpose of getting close to Gabriella. And I still remember, me and my cousin would just be laughing sometimes at lunch, and Benny would start looking at us a little bit funny, like he was catching on, because my cousin knew what I was up to. And we both befriended Benny. And there would just be certain parts in the conversation where something would come up, and I don't know, maybe we were being a little bit too obvious or something like that, but he would just kind of start looking. He never said anything, but he kind of looked at us. Because the inside joke at home with my cousin, whenever we were done with camp that day, it would always be like, yeah, he thinks we're friends, but we're not. This is purely business, son. Either way, we made sure to keep the age under wraps a lot more securely than we did last time, because we didn't want to be out of camp here and have nothing to do but like play Call of Duty and GTA. I mean, that's not bad, but all day, every day, especially after we'd already spent like 3 weeks together, it can wear thin. But boy, did he enjoy being a fucking superhuman at that camp, because again, he was going to the 10th grade at that time, and he was already athletic. He used to run track and stuff. So whenever we did track activities, he was like twice as fast as everyone there. I remember we were playing dodgeball, and he was purposely spiking the ball as hard as he could at the kids and whatnot. Like, everything he did, he just did it as hard as he possibly could, just establishing dominance. I don't know, I guess it was just fun to seem like he was special at the time. And it was definitely funny. Anyways, end of camp is coming up, end of the week is coming up. And regardless of what summer camp you were at, every Friday I remember we would end up going to a theme park. It was always a field trip. And so this field trip was to Islands of Adventure down here. That's like my favorite place ever. Roller coasters, all types of fun shit. So we reach Friday, we get to Islands of Adventure, and we're standing out there with other schools, because I guess a couple of other schools had done the same field trip. And we're getting like checked in with our tickets and whatnot. And while me and my cousin are standing out there, who do we see? Miss Rosie. We look up, we see her, we look in her eyes, she looks in ours. And this petty bitch gets a grin on her face. And then she turns and she starts running and she says, Brian! Because that was our new camp counselor's name. It was a cool guy. His name was Brian. And Miss Rosie, I didn't mention, she has an accent. I wasn't about to do that the whole video. So she goes, Brian! I'll never forget that. It echoes in my head to this day. She goes running off like a petty little grade school bitch with a secret to tell somebody. And she goes and tells Brian that my cousin is not allowed to be here. He's overage. Hey, they've been tricking you this whole time. A little kid that tells you he's going to the 8th grade, he's actually going to the 10th. Stop the press. Oh my goodness, it's the most horrific thing ever. So immediately I call my mom, because I figured this is about to be a whole thing. And I leave the angriest message on her phone, because I'm like, yo, Miss Rosie done saw us up here. And I'm not gonna say exactly what I said because I'll probably get kicked off YouTube, but I said some like sadistic shit. Cause imagine that, right? We're on the last day, we're on a field trip, like we're about to say our goodbyes to everybody. It's over, fam. But she could not stand the fact that she did not have authority over a student. She could not stand the fact that she couldn't sun him that one day, that she got in somebody's personal space and somebody said something about it. She's not used to that. So she figured she's gonna get me, by the way, we were cool before that. She figured she's gonna get these two kids just ruin their day. They're not gonna go to Islands of Adventure. Gonna get them kicked out. That's gonna be that. And she's just gonna go on and just live happily ever after. Little did she know, Brian wasn't a fuckboy. Brian pulled up and he pulls me and my cousin aside and he's like, so you're going to the 10th grade or whatever? And we're like, yeah, he is. And it's true, you got the birth certificate. And he goes like, oh, well, like it's the last day. I really don't care, but just don't say anything to Miss Rosie. Don't say anything to her because she cares and she's gonna make a whole fuss about it. And he let us through. Somehow we never saw Miss Rosie that day. I never saw Miss Rosie again. And we enjoyed ourselves, man. I remember that day we were strolling around the park. We were talking about some girls, actually, probably the two that were at the camp. And one of the counselors, I guess he was passing by us or walking next to us. I don't know what. He caught wind of what we were talking about. It was a big, heavy-set guy. And not trying to be funny, he was really dark as well. Heavy-set and dark. And hearing us talk about girls, he tries to talk to us like we're kids, because we are. I mean, I just got out of the 7th grade or whatnot. And he's like, oh man, y'all talking about girls already? He was like, when I was y'all age, I didn't like girls. And we were just like, we just laughed it off or whatever. And he walked away. And my cousin leans over and whispers to me, he's like, yeah, that's because your fat black ass wasn't getting no pussy. God damn, that's terrible. I think it's just funnier the age we were at in the situation, the fact that he said that more than the content itself. But, oh man, so that day ended. And if you were curious of what came of me and Gabriella, well, I put in as much work as I could throughout the week. And I did end up getting her to like me. I remember at the very last moment, because we were kind of all sitting in a classroom is what it was. And it was the last day. This is after we got back from Islands of Adventure and we're waiting for our parents to come pick us up. So we're really crunched for time. And I remember it was me, my cousin, her, Linda was there. A couple of other kids were there. I think Benny was there still. I don't remember if he was sitting in this frame or not. But me and Gabriella are sitting next to each other and the counselor is not in the room. The counselor's kind of like in and out, I guess, calling kids and telling them it was their turn. Their parents were here to get them. And me and Gabby, we ended up flirting a little bit at the end there. Like something was about to happen. The vibe was feeling like I was about to get a kiss. But the thing is, you remember about these summer camps I told you in the last story, the counselors were like the fucking SWAT team when it came to this type of stuff. They did not play that. And Gabby, she had really strict parents, so she could not afford to get caught. She was like dead scared of that happening. But I remember like it was about to happen. She was blushing and she was like, oh, I don't know. And then my cousin chimes in because he's there. He was like, yeah, come on, man, just nibble on his ear or something. Just nibble on his ear or something. What the fuck? And like Linda was trying to encourage her to do it and whatnot, but we ran out of time. We dribbled out the clock. Counselor came back in the room. Of course, nothing was gonna happen with that. And sadly, we lost touch. We went to different schools. I did not get her number. For some reason, I was in contact with Linda, probably over MySpace or something. But I did not have Gabby's number, and I remember talking to Linda on MySpace, and we were trying to work that out, but, it was just like a little summer camp fling. It came and it went. So, if there is anything to learn from this story, there's probably not. Other than don't dribble out the clock, don't catch a shot clock violation, because I don't know what to teach you from my cousin and the summer camp counselor. Like, my cousin was just he was just like that, man. When he would get mad or, angry at you, you just don't talk to him for a couple of hours or whatever and just let it blow over, because there's nothing you could do. And so I was curious how that would work in an environment with like school authority, and I got my answer. Never gonna forget it, man. Funny times. Well, if you enjoyed this story, be sure to hit the like button and comment and sub for more. Also, be sure to hit the bell next to my name if you want notifications every time a new video drops. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.